WhiskyJason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American over here in Germany, often trying and reviewing rare and exotic whiskeys. Today I have something from Australia, Starward, yay, Vitalis, ooh. This is for their 15th anniversary as a distillery, which was 2022, which means I'm a good year late. Whiskybase number 221210, and the original recommended retail price in Germany was 119 euros for a product with 52% ABV. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour a little bit into my glass and then read something here from the box, because I think it did a great job of talking about the timeline of Starward here. All right, so if you look at the box here, we have actually try to show this very briefly. So let's go this direction here. We have here the timeline of Starward, which I'm going to read to you now, okay? So, because I learned a lot through this. So, 2017 they started. It says Starward is founded by David Vitale. Interesting guy, also came from investing, and he was like, all right, good, let's go there. But then it says here, production begins in an old Qantas hangar in Epsom Fields. There's 2 years between founding Starward and them distilling, at least at the hangar there. So that's okay. I'm sure those are very turbulent, very interesting, very great, exciting years. So, 4 years later, the original Starward Solera launches, which later goes on to win multiple awards. Starward is very keen on presenting the amount of awards they win, especially from one competition, which we'll talk about in a moment. The Solera was very nice, by the way. Really like that. So 1 year later, start of innovations and collaborations with local breweries, wineries, and distilleries. That means between the year 2007 and 2014, the DNA of Starward was not yet there. They did not use the red wine casks of Australia, but rather that started in 2014. So they've only been doing their typical backbone of the distillery for the last 10 years. I would really like to know a little bit about those years between 2007 and 2014, what they used the most. All right, but the bottle does mention that a little bit. 1 year later, 2015, Starward Nova launches, which goes on to win the title of Best Craft Distillery Whiskey at the 2016 San Francisco World Spirits Competition. All right, San Francisco World Spirits Competition is the thing that they're going to constantly refer back to. 1 year later, we have 2016, the Starward Distillery relocates to a bigger warehouse in Port Melbourne to allow for growth. So they left the airport hangar, which was good, went down to the Port of Melbourne, which made them actually a tourist attraction as well, and gave them a lot of people footfall going into the distillery, becoming a little bit part of the scene in Melbourne, and that was maybe one of the wisest decisions Starward ever made. All right, so we have then 2018, 2 years later, Twofold is launched, and it's awarded the Best Australian Blended Whiskey at the 2019 and 2020 World Whiskey Awards. The entire time, and I still don't know, and anyone knows, please tell me, where did they get the grain for this Twofold from? I don't know of any distilleries, I'm sure there are, but I'm not aware of any distilleries in Australia that make grain whiskey. Do they import it? They don't make it themselves. They have pot stills there. I'm not 100% familiar with the legal technicalities of Australian whiskey. Single malt is clear, pot still, but if you use something that's not 100% malted barley, like in Scotland, you put 10% wheat in there, is it automatically a grain? I don't know. All right, 2019, a very important year because that is the year Diageo becomes a minority stakeholder with the distillery. They pump money into it. And it says here, 2019, Starward launches in the US and begins to build the brand globally by expanding its footprint into European markets. Ta-da! Germany. That's when I first heard about Starward. All right, thank you, Diageo, for finding this nice, innovative distillery and allowing us, the world, to hear about it. 2020, Starward is now the fastest growing Australian whiskey major distillery upgrade completed, a doubling annual production capacity. The pot stills are normally not the problem. It's not the bottleneck. The bottleneck is going to be fermentation time. You either reduce it or put in more fermentation washbacks, or also the mash tun can be a bottleneck. It takes a while before you actually have the pot stills being the bottleneck. You can actually distill them almost 24/7, but the fermentation time is something you just have to wait for the yeast to do its magic. 2021 innovation continues at Starward with the relaunch of the bottled cocktails range and several award-winning projects. In 2022, Starward celebrates 15 years and wins an incredible 12 double gold medals at the 2022 San Francisco World Spirit Competition, and is also the distillery that has won, at least that's what they said at the San Francisco World Competition, the most medals at that competition ever of any distillery. Ta-da! And to celebrate this, we have the Vitalis, the 15-year-old limited edition release that was brought to Germany, at least in November of 2022. Took a little while for it to get here, but it got here. All right, what am I going to compare it to? I have here a single barrel from Berry Brothers and Rudd of Starward Australian single malt whiskey. I have 54.2%. I have 52%. I have a hogshead. It's basically a single barrel. It's a wine barrel. Usually we talk about wine barrels being barriques, but I guess Berry Brothers Rugs wanted to use the word hogshead. 225 liters, about the same thing. Hogshead could be 250, barriques at 225. Don't worry, all right? This is going to set us back about 119 euros, Whiskybase 231473. This is going to set us about 119, maybe even 115 at the moment on sale. I touched a bottle and some of the little bottles knocked over. Everything's fine. This is 221210 at Whiskybase and 52%. Now let's talk about the cask composition here for a second, because this is special. Special because it's a little complicated, to be honest. So the backbone, the DNA of Starward today are just red wine barrels. Beautiful. So they also have in here second and first fill apera barrels. Now, I have to explain two things real quick. First of all, we have geographical indicators of products that cannot be used outside of that area. For example, you cannot say that something's sherry if it's not from Spain and from the triangle around Jerez. So Germany, we cannot produce sherry. We have an apple sherry, but all right, so we're not allowed to produce sherry. So now the same thing happens with Australia and America. So America has produced sherry in California for decades now, and also in Australia they produce sherry for decades. Now they stopped calling it sherry, they now call it apera, A-P-E-R-A. So we have second and first fill apera sherry barrels. Now the same thing is with the word port. California makes port still until this day. Angel's Envy port casks are from California. They're not from Portugal. They're not from the city of Porto. They're not from the valley where the port wine grapes are grown and so on. And the same thing happened with Australia. They had port wine. And now they're not allowed to use that because it's protected the name, so they just call it Tawny barrels. We have Ruby port, we have Tawny port, so they just have Tawny barrels. So we have Australian Tawny, we have Australian apera, and we have, and this was the time between 2007 and 2014, before they started working with the distilleries, what did they use? And a little bit of an homage, a little bit of a memory of those moments. They have bourbon barrels in here, and they have rum barrels. We have 5 different types of things. We have red wine, we have apera, we have Tawny, we have normal bourbon, and we have rum here. And every single time I taste the Vitalis, I have the feeling that I have 5 different people shouting at me. And I don't know where to direct my attention. It's just too much information, too much overflow. And sometimes it works, and sometimes it's just too much for me. And this whiskey is sometimes just too much for me. The 52% is not the problem. The problem is the flavor intensity. Just to show what I've been watching on YouTube recently, have you ever seen that where they have the rubber bands and they make the ball and they put as many rubber bands as possible until under its own tension it just explodes? I have the feeling there's a lot of tension here. Have you seen other people take rubber band balls and just shoot them at each other? That's the tension of the rubber band is here. There's just too much. And it's cool to watch the videos when those balls explode and the rubber bands fly all over the place. But I don't know if I really, really desire this in my whiskey. All right, on the nose, it's totally cask forward. All this brown fruit. The word that came into my brain was gooiness. It's syrup. It's just too much. We have a distillery over here in Germany called Elsburn. They use first fill casks all the time, and they have something called the Journey and also called the Wayward. The Journey is basically, I think, 48%, and they have 7 different casks in there. The Wayward is exactly the same, but just in cask strength. It costs €70. The cask strength Wayward. This costs 115, 119. It's really the question, do I need that? Do I need that? Now, this is a once-in-a-lifetime limited edition celebration of 15 years of the distillery, and they wanted to show us all the different casks they've been using, and I thank them for that. But as you can see, I did a bottle share about a year ago, and not many people wanted that for that price. And so this is a little bit of my problem, a little bit of our problem over here in Germany. 26 different online shops in Europe at Whiskybase still have this bottle a year later. This is not moving, all right? So it could be the price, and anything above €100 hurts me mentally to pay that amount of money, because it's, at the end of the day, it's just whiskey. All right, I can go out and buy a 30 bottle or 20 bottle bottle of whiskey and enjoy it with friends, or I could pay €120 and be overwhelmed with the complexity and the aroma intensity, and that's what happens here. All right, I like this much better. This is clear. This is the red wine. This is Starward as I know it and love it. This is a little bit just too much. I think, and if you understand what I'm saying between the lines, they tried too hard. All right, cheers. Mm. Mm. My sensors, my taste buds are being attacked from all these different layers, all these different flavors, all these different directions. I have the good red wine. I have the oaky spice of it. I imagine I have a little bit of the rum and the port and the apera, and everything's just going on at the same time. And it's not like it's a fully integrated harmonic type of moment. It's more like a dissonance. The waves are just fighting each other, and they're not really in sync. That's what I get. All right, so I added some water. I diluted it down from 52% down to like 46, and I'm going to try it a second time. I do like the nose. The flavor profile, the red wine sticks the longest. The red wine with the oakiness is a flavor aftertaste. It's a C. It's a C minus. It's a C. It's a value for money. It's €119. It's a D. A is why haven't you bought it? I don't think I've given any whiskeys for value for money in A anytime recently. B, yes. B is buy it. Yeah, C, you can buy it if you want to. D, you don't need it. And F, why was the stuff even made? All right, and so this is, you don't need, I don't see the reason to buy this whiskey when there's other products from Starward. That's not just from other distilleries, from Starward themselves that taste much, much better. All right, so that's what I'm going for. I'll stay away from the ginger beer from them. Unless you love ginger beer, then go for it. It tastes, there's special releases of Starward there, where they did experimental series. And if you love ginger beer, that's what you like. I had a ginger beer recently, and I was like, no, thank you. I gave it to someone else. I couldn't even drink it. And the whiskey tastes just like ginger beer, which is great. They're experimenting. They're doing weird, exotic, crazy things, and that's what we want from distilleries. But this is just a little bit, for me, over the top. Even diluted down to 46%. There's a sweetness, there's an oakiness, there's just a rush of flavors that, see, there's nothing wrong with this whiskey, just too much. They were trying too hard. All right, celebration time for Starward. I wish them another 15 years so they get the 30 years full with David here. Over here, a single barrel from Berry Brothers and Rudd. This is Starward. This is clear. This is pure. This is the DNA that I like and I expect from Starward here with its red wine casks from Australia. Beautiful, beautiful product. So my question of the day is, what is your favorite Australian whiskey? My second question of the day, what is your favorite Starward whiskey? And my last question is, what do you expect for the next 15 years from Starward to come? I expect them to actually build as if I'm correctly informed, there's not much place there to build a real big distillery in Melbourne Harbour. I expect them to build a second distillery in the next 15 years with a lot more capacity for the world, and to still have the show distillery at the harbour and to do that. All right, that's my expectation. Let's see what they do. All right, thank you very much for watching, liking, subscribing, and telling other people. If you're in Germany and you're watching this, you can ask for a sample or even ask to buy the rest of the bottle here if you want. Thank you. See you soon. Bye-bye.